Welcome to the Fit for Halter podcast. We're here to bring practical content and community to the amateur halter exhibitor. I'm your host, Amy Zabel, and I interview people from across the halter horse industry. We'll learn new techniques, hear about the hottest products, and get to know one another. If you grow in your knowledge and we gain more exhibitors in the ring, this has been a success. It's a laid-back environment. Prepare to be inspired and maybe take some notes. I'm excited to introduce to you Rhonda Culp. She is the president of the Texas Paint Horse Club. And tonight we're going to focus on how to get involved, the importance of being involved in the local clubs to help grow the industry. So Rhonda, thank you for being here with us.
Hi, thank you for asking me, Amy. I'm honored and surprised to be on the podcast, and I think this is an interesting topic.
Awesome. Well, we're grateful for you and all the work that you've done in the industry. And let me just take a minute, if I can, and introduce you officially to everyone. So Rhonda grew up in a family that showed horses. Even when she wasn't showing, she was around the horse world and attended local horse shows. During college, most of her friends rodeoed and ran barrels. And after college, she was not as involved because she had started her career. So she briefly got away from the horse world other than being around her brother, who was a trainer at the time. Rhonda's daughter brought her back to the horse show world when they moved to a small acreage and she wanted a horse. So her daughter was the reason that the family got involved in paint horses because she didn't want to have a horse that looked the same as everybody else's. She started taking lessons from a friend, and at first she wanted to be the next Martha Josie. If you know barrels, you know Martha Josie. Her first horse or horses were two miniature horses, and that was to make sure that she would take care of them before more money was spent on a horse that she could ride. So they bought their first paint horse. His name was Emphasis on Dock Bars.
Her name, it was a mare.
Oh, thanks. Her name was Emphasis on Dock Bars, and when her daughter was in 5th or 6th grade. At the time, they got involved at the local 4-H club and participated in open shows in the area. The involvement with the 4-H club is what led her to working with a friend to help the Texas Paint Horse Youth Club. Around 2011, she was elected a member of the board of the Texas Paint Horse Club and served as their recording secretary and youth advisor. She was elected president-elect in 2015 and served as president during 2017, 18, and 19. Once again, she is the current president for the 2024 year. She has served as an APHA national and state director for several years and has been on several APHA committees, including the youth committee as chair, long-range planning, and currently serves on the World Show and regional club committees. And this year, she was given the 2024 Distinguished Service Award from the American Paint Horse Association. Her passion has always been the youth, and since her daughter did not always have a horse that she could show at the breed show level, she wanted to continue to serve to be an example to other youth. She wants youth and adults to know there are other opportunities to get involved in the horse show world through leadership and horse judging contests, just to name a few. So, Rhonda, will you start by telling us a little bit about your own personal horse history?
Yes. My dad calf roped when I was a little kid. So I have been told some of my first words were, Dad, ride, when we were at ropings with him. Once he and my mom had children, the mare that he was roping off of went away because we lived in town. When I was in the 1st grade, they bought and built a house on some small acreage, and horses became part of our lives again. Mm-hmm. He didn't want paint horses. He was in the quarter horse world, and I can remember when we were breeding our mare, one year we had a horse that had too much white on her, or almost too much white on her legs, and he's out there with the measuring tape, as soon as she's born, going, please don't let this be a paint horse. So I have to laugh that now my daughter is like, no, I don't want a horse that looks like anybody else. I want one that's loud and lots of color. And so that's how I've got involved in the American Paint Horse Association.
I love it.
And I laugh and say, I was a rebellious teen and I didn't show because at our house, we did everything ourselves. And it was, you got up and you went to the barn and fed horses, and then you came home and rode. And I had other things I wanted to do. So I laugh now and say, well, Dad, you got me anyway, one way or the other.
He did.
But so that's how I got involved. My daughter got her first horses. We got involved in 4-H. At that time, the Texas Paint Horse Club did not have a youth club. They had let that lapse. So a friend of another fellow 4-H leader, her daughter was showing paints too. So we got involved and got the youth club's charter back and started getting our kids involved.
Wow. You're a trailblazer. Get things done kind of person. I love it.
Yes. And sometimes there were roadblocks thrown in our way, but we felt like our kids needed the leadership opportunity that club would give them. They both horse judged at that time. So, there was horse judging at the World Show, leadership being involved in a youth club, the AJPHA National Convention every year, all of those kind of things. So we just wanted our kids to have those opportunities. And when my daughter graduated from high school and went off to college, horse judging paid for 2 years of college. So she went to college on a horse judging scholarship. So I'm a big proponent of getting involved in some of these ancillary activities to help fund your college. But I had some changes in my life, and the horse club at that time had become my family too. And I was on the board, and I just stayed involved.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit more about youth involvement? Like, I did not grow up connected to a breed association. I did open shows when I was younger. And so I'm not really familiar with the opportunities that the youth have. You listed several of them, like the judging and leadership opportunities. Does every state level club have a youth element to it?
No, not every club does. Some of the bigger clubs do. And even if they don't have their own youth club, they can still have youth involved in leadership on a national level. AJPHA wants state national directors, youth national directors from every state and every country that they have paint horses in. So that's a big push to try to get those kids involved on a national level. There is a youth leadership conference that takes place. It has been during our regular APHA convention, and then it's been separate. And now this year it was back with our APHA convention. So the kids come in, they learn team building skills. They have guest speakers come in. They get to do fun activities. We have an adult member that works with the elephants at the Fort Worth Zoo, and he got them behind the scenes tour of the elephants at the Fort Worth Zoo this year as one of the fun things they got to do. So part of what they get to do is meet with us. They can serve on an adult committee as a committee person. They don't get to vote, but they get to speak when we have our committee meetings. They get to come in and be a part of that and make their thoughts and ideas known, maybe give us adults a different perspective. But it also is teaching them about how the organization runs on a whole, on a national and a world level.
Wow. That's like bonus content right there that I was not anticipating, but fantastic information, hopefully, to our listeners, but perhaps a future episode focusing on youth opportunities, because we've got rising seniors who would be applying for college, and could be a timely conversation.
Yes, APHA has youth scholarships that they can apply for on a national level. A lot of the clubs, if they have a youth organization, or even if they don't, may have scholarships for their individual members that are kids that are graduating. We do at Texas. We'll talk a little bit later about our scholarship program that we have here at TPHC.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. We kicked it off starting our conversation talking about you and then quickly talked about the youth for a bit. But we'll come back to you. And then, like you said, we'll get back to some more details about the Texas Club. So, back to you and your horse journey. What are some of your favorite memories from showing as an amateur exhibitor?
Well, I never showed as an amateur, so
Okay.
I'm not going to have any memories of that. It's going to be growing up in a horse family with a brother that showed.
Okay.
I was the kid helping brush and get the horse ready, before the horse show, but not actually in the pen.
Uh-huh. That's awesome. Um, yeah, and I'm sure you did a lot of that same type of work with your daughter, helping her get ready.
It was funny. Her dad is not a big horse guy, and he didn't come to the shows a whole lot. He traveled for work and stuff, but when he did come, she would be like, "Mom, he's breaking our routine," because we had
Right.
do this, this, and this, and he would
That's
come in, "No,
right.
no, no," and she's like, "No, Dad, that's not how we do it."
That's right. It requires a pretty strict rhythm, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh, goodness. Yep. We are creatures of habit. So, you've been serving the horse industry for many, many years. What's your primary motivation?
I'm gonna have to say the kids. Um, I have been very fortunate while I have been involved as a youth advisor to have 4 kids from Texas serve as AJPHA president. A couple of them I pushed to get involved on the local club level and the national level. And it's great to see those young people succeed. One of them is in vet school right now. One is an attorney. One is a trainer, and she's actually been to China representing APHA and worked with kids there. She helped coach a international team for the team tournament that we just had at APHA World Show. So those, and then another one is in college right now at Texas Tech. So those young people, seeing them succeed, and I have 2 or 3 kids that are running. The voting ended yesterday, so I don't know how they did to be on the AJPHA executive board for starting as soon as they get through tabulating the votes.
Wow. That's impressive. Your level of commitment and just the success that you contributed to. Um, I know that you've enjoyed all of the roles that you've had, but what would you say is your most memorable role and why?
Right now, it's the club and our scholarship program. This program started, I believe, in 2014 with Renee Robinson, who was president at the time. And we were doing a charity horse show to benefit the Charity Foundation, which is a group outside of Fort Worth that helps women with cancer that maybe can't fund their chemo, or they just need rides or to get them back and forth, whatever. And so we were doing a charity horse show with having a silent auction and a live auction and things to benefit that organization. And we threw a youth scholarship program in on that, and it helped get donations for that. And in 2024, that show, we don't do the charity part of it. Now it's a scholarship show, and it's called Paint the Future.
Mm.
And we gave away $45,000 worth of scholarship money. That's
Wow.
45 youth classes that have 3 scholarships in those classes.
Wow.
So I can't take credit for raising all that money. I raise a very, very small portion of it. Sandy Dubose, who is our chair of that committee and our vice president, does an awesome job. But each kid that's in a scholarship class, first place gets 500, second gets 3, and then we have a random draw. So any kid that's showing in that class, it doesn't matter if they're riding a $2,000 horse or a $500,000 horse, stands a chance of winning some money. And we start out with lead line classes. and go all the way up to the 18 and under class. So some of those kids can bank a pretty good amount of money by the time they get ready to go to college.
That's fantastic. Love the innovation in that and the way that, gosh, future thinking and opportunities that provides. That's fantastic. We need to have you back to do a youth episode. Oh, I love it because I mean, yeah, they are our future. So
Definitely. And it was amazing. Even the amateurs, we had amateurs come from Louisiana. That show was in April. And we had some amateurs come that had never come before. And they said, we came because we saw your presence on social media, and we came because the kids are our future. And we wanted to come support the club. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. And potentially motivation for other clubs to
Yes.
start something or seek wisdom from your club about how to get something started.
Yeah, and it's strictly donations. I mean, we reach out to our membership, to, you know, companies, whatever that, and it's strictly via donation. Sometimes people are only donating $25 or $50, and we just add it all up until we get $1,000 in a class.
Good. It's good stuff. So, you're president of the Texas Paint Horse Club. What does that role entail, like on a day-to-day basis?
Day to day, we work thinking about ways to future events, what we can do to make our shows bigger and better. Looking and seeing what other people are doing across the country, whether it's a paint horse club, a quarter horse club, whatever that might be working. Answering questions from somebody. Sandy and I are responsible for our Facebook page. So a lot of it's trying to keep people, even when we're not getting ready for a horse show or there's not one going on, to try to keep people coming to our Facebook page, keep it relevant, sharing ideas, sharing APHA information, whatever. I usually am doing a little bit of something every day. It may not be much, but it may be calling a board member and brainstorming. Hey, what do you think about this? I saw somebody doing this, you know, what do y'all think? Can we do this? So that's leading. We have monthly meetings. A lot of them are via Zoom. So it's leading those meetings, making sure that we follow our bylaws. Those are some of those functions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And your current term, is that just for the calendar year 2024?
Yes,
okay. All right. Awesome. So shifting to the club itself, can you give us a brief overview of the Texas Paint Horse Club and its mission?
Hold on a second. I had a piece of paper and now I can't find it. Our mission statement is, give me just a minute. The mission of the Texas Paint Horse Club is to promote the paint horse breed and to provide meaningful experiences with paint horses and their owners. So our main mission, our main thing that we do is we put on or are part of 4 horse shows every year.
Okay. So yeah, tell us more about that. Can you highlight some of those key events or shows?
The Fort Worth Stock Show is our first show every year, and we work in conjunction with the Fort Worth Stock Show. They are actually putting on the show, but we work with them on what classes to add or take away. We have a committee that works with them very closely every year. We give suggestions as far as judges to hire for that show. We also, in the past, that show had been, when I first got on the board, it was a 2-judge show. We have built that show back up to a 4-judge show. We give high point belt buckles, which had not been given, and we've done that for the last several years. So everybody that gets a high point award. We also contribute every year to the Fort Worth, their scholarship, and they do a scholarship every year for the highest placing 18 and under youth, and the reserve highest placing 18 and under, or all around youth. So we contribute to that. That is perpetually funded. We just contribute every year to keep it going.
Nice.
But that's our big show, first show of the year. It's in late January. So we have a membership booth there. You have to be a member of our club to be eligible for the belt buckle. So that's our big membership drive every year. We have information from APHA about our club. There's people manning our booth. So we get a lot of guests that are there for the stock show, just walking by and asking what's going on. This next year for 2025, we're working with the stock show to actually put together on Saturday afternoon after the show is over, a demonstration and an explanation of what is a paint horse, what is a halter horse, what's a Tobiano and an Overo, what some of the other classes. We're going to have some trainers help us, and we'll have a couple of horses out in the pen, and people can actually be in the stands and get an explanation of some of what they're seeing at a horse show.
That's awesome. And that's after the Fort Worth stock show?
That will be during the stock show. It'll be after the show is over for the day on Saturday. But that show runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Saturday afternoon is usually an afternoon that we end kind of early. So this is going to be something to keep something going on in that arena. And instead of people just in there warming up and nobody really knowing what's going on, it will give them a little bit, 45 minutes to an hour of just, this is what a paint horse is, and this is what you're seeing when you are watching a paint horse show in some of the classes.
I love that. Yeah, I've heard from other guests and just people in the industry, the value of having, it makes me think of Touch a Truck. Have you ever heard of that? Like the fire truck opportunity for kids to go and sit in an ambulance or a fire engine. And it makes me think bringing horses right to the people, just to educate them a little bit.
And that's one of the good things about the stock show is you get a lot of people walking through the barns that have never seen a horse, may never own a horse. But it's really, they'll walk through, can I pet your horse? Can I, what are you doing? And that kind of stuff. So most of our trainers and our exhibitors are really good about taking a little bit of time and just, talking to the people. This to me is a great community outreach, because maybe we'll get somebody to go buy a paint horse. Maybe we'll light that spark in an amateur or a child.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they got interested in paint horses, you would scoop them right up and march them on their way to leadership roles and so on.
We would certainly try.
I love it. So how has the Texas Paint Horse Club evolved over the years, and what has shaped its current identity?
When I got involved, we have been one of the premier clubs in the United States for a long time. There was a leadership change when I first got involved. We had some cattle and other stuff at our shows, and it was not profitable. And we decided we weren't going to have those again. And then several years ago, right when the ranch stuff was starting to take place, I had been going to work another club show in the western part of Texas as a paid employee, and they had the ranch stuff and they were very big. And came back, talked to some board members, and came back to the board, and I'm like, okay, this ranch is really taken off. We need to add these classes, but if we do, we need to add cattle back. And everybody's looking at me, we swore we'd never bring cattle up again. But I had talked to the exhibitors and said, if we do the cattle, you have to pay up front. We've got to know that we're going to have that money in order to rent the cattle for this horse show, because cows are not cheap. And the ranch classes have now probably been anywhere from $30,000 to 20 to 30% of every horse show that we have.
Wow.
So that's an innovation that the whole board got behind. One of our board members draws our ranch trail patterns every time. He bought all the equipment personally and hauls it to every show and sets it up. So it's been really good. And if you look at world show numbers, those classes are huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think that our board was innovative and thought ahead and said, okay, we're going to embrace this and we're going to do it and make it work. And it's worked.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is the scholarship program. And we've brought back the last couple of years trying to have something fun at our horse shows.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us that grew up hauling to open shows or even breed shows, and you showed out of a trailer and, you know, you didn't have big living quarters and it was a one-day thing, but they were fun. You know, so we've tried to add some of that fun back.
Mm-hmm.
This year we had dog showmanship class.
Love it.
And it was great and everybody loved it. And they had to do a little pattern and they were judged and it was so much fun. And I mean, everybody was out there watching and it was after the show one afternoon. So it didn't take any time out of the show. We've done wheelbarrow trail where there's somebody in the wheelbarrow, a kid normally, and an adult blindfolded pushing the wheelbarrow, and the kid has to tell them how to maneuver that wheelbarrow through a course. We own a set of the bouncy horses, and we've done bouncy horse relays. So some of those, they actually borrow our horses and use them at the World Show. So some of those things just to try to bring part of that fun back. Mm-hmm. We have tried the last couple of years at our April show, and sometimes at our spring show that we share with the Gulf Coast Paint Horse Club, to have pizza on one night, the night that everybody's trying to move in. So like they're trying to get in, they don't have time to stop and eat, so they can come grab a piece or a couple of pieces of pizza and go back and do their stuff. And that's gone over really well.
It's a great idea. A lot of great ideas. And I think a lot we can learn from what your club is doing. Thank you for sharing all of that. So one of the reasons that we're having this conversation is to support the side of Fit for Halter that is about building community. Like I said, when I was chatting with you, just right away, I knew that you were a person that was about being involved regardless of your own horse status, if you will. You're an advocate for club involvement, and Fit for Halter is here to not only bring the content, but build community. And one of the ways that we can do that is by volunteering for a club. So I want to pick your brain a little bit about that side of things. So you purposely continued to serve local and state clubs, even though you didn't have a horse of your own, or maybe your daughter didn't even have a breed level horse. So what motivated you? And I guess we've talked about this a little bit in regard to the youth. What continues to motivate you to dedicate time and energy to the horse show industry?
Well, like I said, they became family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do with my weekends without it. And most of our shows are in the spring. So the fall, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I guess I have to go visit my grandkids. But I see the benefit, whether you're with a barn or whether you're doing it like you said you and your husband do by yourself, or like my daughter and I did by ourselves. I think that it teaches you responsibility. Mm-hmm. And it does become a family. At times, yes, if you're an individual, it can be hard to get in and find your niche. But I think that if you come in wanting to help, most clubs need help. They need volunteers. A lot of them are struggling even to find people willing to serve on a board. So we need horse show people. We need people that are, whether they own a horse or not, and maybe they don't own a horse, they just love being around it and love the people. Maybe they showed at some point in time in their life and they're at a point right now where they can't. But it takes all levels to make a club and to make a horse show successful, especially on some of the smaller clubs and the smaller horse shows. We've reached a point where we usually hire we hire our scribes, we are ring stewards, we hire a gate person for most of our shows. But there was our February show this year, we did not, and we worked the gate ourselves. To try to save a little bit money. We had changed a date on a show and we weren't sure how that date was going to fall. So we wanted to save that extra money. But there are things you can do, whether it's helping make sure that there's ribbons out for people to pick up, or help work a gate, help get the judges' cards from the arena to the announcer or to the office. Be part of a welcoming committee. If you see somebody out there that's new or maybe not in a barn trying to do it all by themselves, go up and talk to them, introduce yourself. Those are all ways people can get involved. You don't have to be on a board. At least most of the clubs where most of us are nonprofit, ask them when they're having a board meeting. If it's via Zoom, get on it and just sit and listen, and we're open to different ideas. Somebody may have a great idea that none of us on the board currently have thought about. All of those are ways that I think people can get involved.
You mentioned the welcoming committee. Is that that has been a theme when I was doing some research prior to launching the podcast, and then throughout multiple episodes have heard a theme that is along the lines of welcoming or hospitality, ways to not only help people, whether it's unload their trailer, get their horse in, bed their stalls, but even people who are brand new. Where's the show office? Where do I park? Where do I put my trailer? A lot of details that we take for granted after we've been to a facility a couple of times or we've been showing for a lot of years. So do clubs actually have welcoming committees?
We don't. We have a pretty strong social media presence on Facebook. So Sandy and I are the admins for our Facebook page, and we get questions there all the time. And if we don't respond immediately, it's within 24 hours. And, I've got another full-time job. She's got other activities that she's involved in, but we try to make sure that we've done that. We are all out in the pen, especially during the halter classes, when you've got a make ready area, and then the arena that y'all are at, they're part of the arena you're actually showing in. Try to get out there and talk to people, and, go walk through the barns and just speak and introduce ourselves. Some people that's easier than others. Sandy and I don't have a problem talking to anybody. So we're usually the ones that are out there. If we're in the ranch classes or, working the gate or whatever, and we see new people, introduce ourselves. Are y'all having fun? All of those kinds of things. So we do have an annual membership meeting for our club. It's required in our bylaws. The Zoom link goes out to everybody that's on our email list, so that they can come in and they can comment and they can ask how to get involved. All of those kind of things are things that we do.
It's a lot. It's good. I think, get the extroverts to raise their hands and get them out socializing and welcoming people. I think, from what I've heard from the seat that I'm currently sitting in and having these conversations with people, there's a desire to help grow clubs at in any direction they can, and helping new people has been particularly at the heart of many of those thoughts and comments, is helping new people get connected.
Well, and I can't, I mean, like I said, I grew up in a family that showed horses. I can remember because my dad calf roped. We'd never showed horses before. And the first horse show we went to, my brother showed in a short sleeve shirt. That's a no-no. And I mean, he was a little kid, and we had somebody walk up after the show and say, okay, I know you didn't know, this is the first time we've seen you here, but these are all things that you need to do, so that we did know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was an open show circuit. There wasn't a per se rule book like we have when you go to a breed show that tells you what your attire needs to be. But sometimes it's even hard to find things in the rule book. And sometimes Sandy will get questions on social media about, you know, what are the rules on this? And we're fortunate enough that we have a couple of judges on the board, and I'll call one of them and go, okay, you know, how do I explain this in layman's terms so they'll understand? And, but you know, those kind of things, because it can be intimidating, especially when you're trying to get into the breed world at times.
Mm-hmm.
And we want people to feel like we're welcoming them, and we want them to come back.
That's good. So when you think about a new person who maybe is attending their first breed show, or they're listening to this episode and kind of getting inspired by some of the things that you're saying, can you break it down for us? How would a brand new person get involved?
If
somebody who's brand new to the horse world. Yeah.
I think the first thing is to reach out to their local club. If they're going to come to a breed show, if they're interested in coming to a breed show, reach out to that local club and say, hey, I'm brand new. Whether it's, you know, looking and seeing everybody on our board, our emails are on our website. You know, we post patterns for the pattern classes. They're out there at least a week before the show. So sometimes we get questions about those, but reach out to somebody at that local club. If you're in a barn, it's a whole lot easier to get involved, because you've got that barn group that will help lead you along. If you're doing this as an individual, then it makes it a little harder. But just reach out, because we want you to succeed, because if our exhibitors don't succeed and don't come back, then we don't have a reason for being a club.
Yeah, very true. If a person's on the fence about volunteering, what would you say to them to express the importance of volunteering?
You get more out of it than you can ever give. Way more. When those kids come back and say, Miss Rhonda, I wouldn't have never, ever run for AJPHA president if you hadn't pushed me in that, you know, if you hadn't said, yes, you can do this. And I see what they accomplished as being a leader and what they're accomplishing now in their lives as adults. That's way more than I could ever give.
It's good. Shoo, that'll preach. Oh, amen to that. So when you think about the horse industry, whether it's just the halter or it's just paints, or, you know, thinking, I guess, more globally, what do you see as the biggest need in the horse industry?
Oh, that's a hard one. Finding a way to make it accessible to everyone. Just to be honest, this is an expensive hobby for a lot of us. For some people, it's a business, but it's an expensive hobby, and there's a lot of we have a lot of competition. There's a lot of other things that people can get involved in. So I think we have to show the benefit that being involved in horses adds to your life. The social, the responsibility. I think if we get them young, and I don't want to by any means devalue the amateurs, because they are so important. But if we can develop a love for a horse, that love's never going to go away. And you may not show as a kid, but when you become an amateur, if that love has been there, then when you become an amateur, hopefully and start your career and your life, you're going to come back to, you're going to want to spend some of your discretionary income to get involved.
Mm-hmm. My husband and I are an example of that. Years and years of love for horses and stage of life is what enabled us to jump in.
Yeah.
And really many people had built into us, invested in us. And then we connected with some people who took very good care of us at the very beginning, and set us on a trajectory of successful experiences, not just like success in the ring, but I mean, picked a good horse, picked the right equipment, helped us pick the right feed, like all those components that you don't necessarily have the knowledge of. And then we're part of a great club. Yes. In Illinois.
Y'all do have a great club.
Yeah. Makes a difference. Yeah, that's another theme that I hear from our guests is the need to decrease barriers. We can't necessarily make it any cheaper.
No.
A lot of the expenses are outside or not controlled by us.
Yes. And that is, arenas are expensive. Mm-hmm. In the market that we're in here in Texas, they'll build a new arena, but there's barrel racing, there's team roping, there's all of those other things, and you can't find open dates to put a new horse show on. There's something going on horse related all the time. So those kind of costs we can't change. Just like our groceries and our feed and everything else has gone up, the cost of the arenas have gone up. So many of our classes now are scored, which requires a scribe or a ring steward, whatever you want to call them, for every judge. So you've got that extra expense, because at a larger show, that judge wants to know they've got that same person with them all week or all weekend. But that is a lot of places, they do use volunteers for scribes. We've been very fortunate that we use the judging team from Texas A&M. That's a contact that I made through our 4-H volunteering as a club. And so she sends her judging team, and we make a donation to the judging team. It helps those kids travel to contests, and we get some really awesome scribes.
Right. Oh my goodness. That's a great idea. Great way to collaborate and
yes.
tap into the skill. And again, brings younger folks in
yes.
For some exposure. It's good. Very strategic. So you've mentioned your club and the social media presence that you have. How can we find out more about the Texas Paint Horse Club, or where do we go to find out more?
Our Facebook page is Texas Paint Horse Club. Okay. We have a website that is texaspainthorseclub.com.
Okay.
Fort Worth Stock Show, as I said, we have information booth there. We also are getting ready. starting this weekend and then all of next week at the Texas State 4-H Horse Show. We partner with APHA, with the Gulf Coast Paint Horse Club and the Permian Basin Paint Horse Club, and we have an information booth there. APHA furnishes neck ribbons for the highest placing paint horse in every division. So in the halter classes, in the hunter flat, the hunter over fences, the wrench classes, the western classes, the roping, the speed classes, all of that. If there's a paint horse in that class and they have certified their horse as a paint horse, then they get a neck ribbon. We give them some other kind of prize to go with it. We have people working our booth every day. Some of it is some of our kids that are leaders. Some of it is some of the adults. APHA will actually be down there one day. And they can go by and talk to somebody from APHA or from our youth person that's from APHA. But we have information on our clubs, information on PAC. So they could get PAC points by showing at an open show. Information on the color charts of the paint horse, all of that kind of stuff. So that's another big community outreach that we try to do. But our social media presence is, I don't even know off the top of my head how many followers, but it's in the thousands. And like I said, we do a pretty good job of trying to make sure we post stuff on there once a week at least, even if we don't have a show going on, just to keep people coming to it and to keep it where it's in people's feed. But reach out. Our contact information's on our website. Reach out to one of us. We'll be happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, it is no wonder how you earned and were awarded the 2024 Distinguished Service Award from APHA. It is evident in who you are that you're a servant. So thank you for doing that for the state of Texas, for the youth that you're sending into the world with leadership experience and horses to boot. So thank you for sharing with us, not only in this episode, but the way you give of yourself to the horse community. So we appreciate it.
It has given me way more back.
That's right. I'm going to remember that. Tell me that again.
I get more back than I can give.
Right. That's right. That is right. All right. Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate it. Hey, if you're an amateur or a professional willing to share your story or bring content that helps us with our halter horses, you can email me at fitforhalter@gmail.com.